I want a divorce, Nozomi asked me. I said, "Sure, here, it's the divorce papers." As I left the divorce paper on the table, my wife looked at me with a blank face. What? I also look at my wife with a blank face. This is... Aren't we getting divorced? My name is Masato, a 27-year-old office worker. Nozomi and I met from work as she was working at the location I was at. As we started to work together, we became close, and by the time we realized we were dating, after 3 years, we got married. Currently, we are only 6 months through our marriage life. My wife is mostly a very calm and quiet person. Even if I do something, she never says anything. This allowed me to commit to my hobbies and go drinking with my friends without permission. But her one wish for me was after our marriage that I stay under the same roof as her. Because she can't really do housework, she wanted me to be in charge of it. It's not like I wanted to keep on doing my job, so I accepted her wish. After this, I began to focus on doing housework as a house husband. Every day, I would make bento for lunch and dinner. I would try to avoid making repetitive meals and would look up various recipes. My wife would be very pleased with my meals and says, "Thank you, you really help me out a lot every day." We had a very good marriage life, but there was one problem, and that was the existence of my mother-in-law. At first, she would be very kind to me, but gradually, she would start to reveal her true colors and bully my wife, and she would just show up uninvited during the day. Of course, my wife is not here because of work, so I have to handle her. My mother-in-law complains, "It's not clean here," and even to the meals says, "There's no taste," and just says whatever she wants to say. When I say, "Nozomi likes my food and always appreciates it," back to her, "She's just given up on you. She thinks that there's no point in bringing it up. You should have realized that by now," and just says these strange theories to me. I don't think my wife wouldn't be able to compliment me whilst feeling that way. To her, my mother-in-law, my wife was her pride and joy. Her grades would be outstanding in anything, and she is a graduate of a famous public university. As a mom, she was her cute daughter. That's why she is so overprotective and comes to our house frequently, points things out to me, checks up on her daughter, and leaves. It really annoyed me, but what annoyed me the most would be her asking when she is going to have a grandchild. Because her smart daughter got married, I'm sure she wanted to see her successful grandchild. Every time she looks at me, she says, "When am I going to have a grandkid? When is my daughter going to get pregnant?" and puts pressure on me. But to be honest, I can't make her wishes come true. My wife doesn't like children. She thinks that she doesn't really need her own child. I never thought that I needed kids of my own too. But because of my mother-in-law would keep on nagging to me about having kids, I talked to my wife about it. She looked annoyed, but since it was her own mother's wishes, she tried to make it happen. However, even though we tried, it was hard for her to get pregnant. In my opinion, I think it was because of her mother's pressure that put stress on my wife. My mother-in-law never blamed herself and kept on pushing her wants on me. "Maybe you have some defects as a male." I couldn't take it anymore, so I told this to my wife. My wife said, "I'm tired of wasting my time and effort in trying to make a baby." And she also said, "I don't want my own children, so don't bother us anymore," to her mother. My mother-in-law was in so much shock that her own daughter told her this so straightforwardly. After this, she stopped coming to our house. Since I was freed from the stress caused by my mother-in-law, I thought I could live a peaceful life. However, another problem arose. Next, my own wife started to act weirdly. Even though she was a silent person to begin with, she became even more silent. Even if I talked to her, her replies would be very short. And as I thought this way, she would tell me, "Aren't you going out to drink too much recently?" and started to complain about me. Gradually, she began to say things that were moral harassments. "That hobby again? You have so much time on you. You're so lucky. You're just a stay-at-home husband, so you don't have any stress, right?" Because her words were so abusive, I finally said to her, "Why are you complaining so much?" Then my wife's face got so red and she backfired at me. "What? Why are you talking back at me? Whose thanks is that we're able to eat?" These days, she just kicks the walls and throws objects even though it's not towards me. Since I've never seen her act so chaotic, I didn't know how to handle the situation. But that's all that she ever did, and after that, she went flying around the house. The next day, my wife was sleeping on the couch. I'm guessing she was back in the house around midnight. Even after she woke up, she would just stay silent like usual whenever she saw me. She was eating her toast in silence. If I talked to her, I felt like she would go ballistic again. As I couldn't talk to her at all, I just had to see her leave her work in silence. Then, on that night, right after she came back from work, she said, "Divorce me," to me. "I can't do this with you anymore." My wife told me this in such a cold and bitter way. I said, "Sure, here, the divorce paper." And I put down the paper on the table that I took out from my drawer. My wife looked at me in such a blank face. "What?" I looked at her with a blank face as well. This is... Aren't we getting divorced? I guess this wasn't what my wife expected to happen. My wife thinks that if we try to get a divorce, I would cry and apologize and beg together. But it's not going to go the way she planned. The fact that my wife took her frustration out on objects ended yesterday, ended our marriage life. When I saw her kicking the wall and throwing things around, I completely lost my love for her. It was a wake-up call to open my eyes to see the reality. After I watched her leave for her, I immediately went to get the divorce papers, and after I wrote my part of the paper, I put it away inside a drawer. I was thinking of putting the paper out for her and leaving the house after I finished packing, but I never thought that my wife would start the divorce talk with me. "Are you being serious?" "Huh? Did you bring up the divorce as a joke?" "No, why would I?" I tried to provoke her on purpose. Something that I found out recently is that whenever my wife feels like she is mocked, her face becomes red and gets mad. Before, we had a good balance in our relationship in terms of being husband and wife, so I never realized her fault of having a very big pride. However, after a year of getting married to her, it seems like her true colors have finally started to reveal. I guess you start to see your partner's true personality and their faults. Even though she was still mad, she said, "So, you're really okay with this, right?" She was also agitated by all this, but she went on and signed the paper. "Okay, now we are actually divorced. Are you sure about this?" "Thank you. I don't think we will ever be good again, so..." Thinking that she might rip the papers, I immediately took away the divorce paper, and for safety reasons, I escaped to my parents' house for a period of time. After a week, with the lawyer that I had hired sitting with me, my wife and I talked about our division of assets. "So, if we divide our assets, it'll be this much." "Huh? It's only this much? Ugh, it's so little because you don't work." "It's because your pay is so little." "What did you say?" "To be honest, I found that your monthly earning is so low compared to how old you are." "Don't get carried away with your so-called superiority." My wife tried to come at me, but my lawyer stopped her. "If you raise a hand on him, I will immediately report this as injury and assault." Because the lawyer told this in such a firm voice, my wife calmed down. "Also, please leave the house as soon as possible." "Huh? What are you saying? Isn't that house mine?" "Oh, you want to split the money from selling the house?" No, I'm going to keep on living in that house." What are you saying? That house is under my name. Did you forget that my father bought us that house as our marriage celebration gift? So all that asset is mine." "No, that can't be." "Also, I sold that house already, so you need to leave the house soon. If you don't, then I'll report you." What? That's going to be a problem. If that place is gone, then where am I going to live?" "Huh? I'm not telling you to leave this instance, so you can just find a room to rent." "Well, but..." What do you want to say?" She looked very hesitant, but she told me the shocking truth. "Well, I quit my job months ago." "Huh?" Apparently my wife quit her job, and she couldn't tell me this, so she pretended to go to work every day and roamed around for the time being. The reason why she quit her job is because her coworker said, "You are the only one out of us who hasn't gotten promoted." The boss saw her clicking her tongue and kicking the drawer of her desk, and the boss got mad at her saying, "Why are you acting like a little kid?" Because she got embarrassed when the people around her started to laugh, she stopped showing up to work from the next day. I knew she had a big ego, but I never knew her personality was this bad. "You're unemployed, so that's why you can't rent a house, right?" "Yeah, so until I find a job, can I stay here?" "Are you stupid? Did you hear what I was saying? I already sold that house. This is the aftermath of what you did, so just find a job quickly and find a place to stay, or go back to your overprotective mother." But, please help me." My wife kept on asking me in tears, but I didn't care. and told her that this conversation is over, and with my lawyer, I left her. About my ex-wife, apparently she had a dreadful time later on. Her pride restricted her from working, so she went back to her mother. However, her mother, who found out why it all led to this, busted out in anger. She would tell her, "I can't even walk around the neighborhood because I'm so embarrassed," and would keep on complaining to her. My ex-wife, who got frustrated by this, apparently kicked a hole in the wall. Then, her father, who lost his temper, gathered all her belongings and kicked her out of the house. My ex-wife was bad at socializing with people from the start, so she had no one to rely on. She would have nowhere to go, so she would kill time at manga cafes. Her money became scarce and also became mentally overwhelmed. "I'm really not okay, so please help me." She called me and asked me for my help, but I just said, "I don't have anything to do with you anymore," and cut the call. After this, I blocked her and gave my ex-wife a restraining order. After that, I don't know how my ex-wife is doing, but I'm sure that her pride is getting the best of her life. I don't have anything to do with her anymore, so I don't really care, but on the other hand, I went back to my parents' house and started to take my hobby of pottery more seriously. By uploading them on SNN and attending events, I hope to spread my name as a ceramist. It's only a little, but I'm starting to get there. By the way, I'm planning on dating and soon marrying this girl that makes accessories that I met at the last event. Unlike my ex-wife, my new girlfriend is very bright, friendly, and isn't two-faced. After failing my first marriage, I realized that I shouldn't hold back on anything and enjoy my life to the fullest. From now on, with my new girlfriend, I want to build a family and support each other's dreams.